At these brothers. And I don't even know how to start this conversation, bro. I'll say this. Man. There's a reason why I try to live in the most righteous, I'll use that word, of manners, man. And again, I'm not saying that as if I'm better than the next man, but there's a reason why I move the way I move. There's a reason why I make the content that I make as opposed to other forms of content that could do much bigger numbers. There's a reason for that, brothers. There's a reason why I honor my mother and my father. There's a reason why I love my brother like I love myself. There's a reason why Soul doesn't go out here and get drunk. To be honest, I don't even really drink, man. Minus the 1 or 2 old fashions I'm going to have every year, or the 1 or 2 cigars I might have. And Soul ain't doing no drinking, bro. Ain't doing no drinking, man. There's a reason why Soul doesn't cheat on women. Yeah, the DMs might be running over. You know what I'm saying? But when Soul locks in, that's it, bro. I ain't with that whole side chick shit, rotate. Like, I don't move like that. And there's a reason behind that, bro. And the reason is because I've been to this place, man. I've been in this state of mind that, bro, I wouldn't even wish on my enemy's enemy. Like if you've ever experienced this place, man, if you've ever experienced hell, brother, there's not a single person on this planet that you ever want to experience that. And when I say hell, man, I'm simply talking about living in a state where you're absent from God. I'm talking about selling your soul, man. There was a point in time, man, where I sold my soul. And I'm understanding now that not only do most people not understand what that means, most people don't even understand when they're walking that path and they're selling their soul. Because a lot of us think that, when we use that term, we'll say, okay, we'll look at somebody in Hollywood, somebody that's made a lot of money and maybe that's doing some kind of dark craft and say, oh, they sold their soul for riches and fame. I'm going to tell you this, man. There are people besides you right now that are broke, that are check to check, that have sold their soul. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, we grew up with the cartoons with Tom and Jerry signing the paperwork with the devil and all that stuff. When a person sells their soul, they really don't know it, or they kind of know it, but they subdue it. But in a nutshell, when you're talking about a person selling their soul, it's simply that person has made a decision to deny God. To deny God. But the illusion around it is so tempting that you really don't really understand when you're walking in that trap, bro. But I'm gonna tell you, man, it's a dark spot, man. When you talk about people that are at the bottom and depressed and don't want to live here and don't want to, it's a dark spot, bro. It's a spot that I can't even explain. Where it's the very opposite of a person having that Midas touch. Where everything you touch is winning, everything you put together is on point. It's the opposite of that. It's where every day you wake up, man, something is going wrong. And you just can't get out of it, brother. And you feel that void without God, man. It's the darkest frequency in existence, bro. Ultimate chaos. So what does it mean to sell your soul, man? Not really what it means, but how does a person get to that point? How does a person sell their soul? You got to understand this, man. The first question you got to ask yourself is, what is the objective of life? What is the objective of life? Is the objective of life to get riches? Is the objective of life to master manifestation, to get the fast cars, to get the big booty chicks, to take the trips, to build the mansions? Is that the objective of life? That's a byproduct of life. The objective of life is to find your way home. I'm going to say it again, brother. The objective of being on this planet, the objective for source energy just dropping us off in the middle of nowhere, giving us the whole birth process, growing up and be adults and The whole objective of life is to find your way home. End of story. How does one do that, soul? I'll say it like this. We can say it a million different ways. The most common way of saying this is of course, in most religions. It's in the Bible. And I don't want to jack the quote up, but when it says, when the messenger says, no man get to the Father except by me. No man get to the Father except by me. I'm going to tell you this, man. When I was a young brother, when I was a young man, I felt some kind of way about that, man. I didn't really agree with that. But the thing is, I didn't understand what was really going on. I didn't understand the weight behind it. I didn't understand the knowledge that was hidden within that. Because I'll say this, a lot of institutions have taken that quote and ran with it. A lot of people have, or a lot of entities have taken that quote and built $1 trillion religions on it, have monopolized a game by saying, hey, you know what? You see it in the Bible. No man get to the Father except through Jesus. And we have Jesus over here in a box. He's in our church hanging on a cross. Come over here and give me your money. Give me your funds so you can find your way to heaven. That's blasphemy. But at the same time, that quote is very true. No man find his way back home unless he go through Christ. But you got to understand what that Christ is. And I'm not going to go through a whole shebang on that. Like, read a singular truth if you want that whole breakdown. But the thing is, you have to understand that this Christ that we're referring to is not some human being that hung on some cross some 2,000 plus years ago. That Christ is within yourself. That Christ is what I've been talking about since the first day I got on YouTube. Understanding duality. Understanding that you might wake up and think you're Joe Blow in this body. That's only half of you. The other half of you is that Christ side that the Bible is referring to. And the only way to find God is by coming in union or by going through that Christ. By going through that Christ. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'll say this. It's not that people don't understand what that Christ is. And I know I'm getting to the point. I just got to break it down on so y'all understand how the end goal takes place. It's not that people don't understand that Christ side exists. Even if they're worshiping something else and saying something else. On the deepest of levels, a person can identify with both sides, but they can never tie them together. And to be honest, a lot of religions keep them separated, right? But it's not that people don't understand that both sides exist. It's just that they isolate them. It's just that they live in dual natures. In other words, on Monday through Friday, they can be living in this body saying, you know what? I see limitations. I see my bill. I see my mortality. I see all these things I'm subject to. And then on Sundays and Wednesdays, they can say, you know what? I see all things are possible through Christ. I see God. I see I see that unlimited possibility, but they never connect the two together. And I'm telling you, man, there are a lot of people on this planet that say they know God. There are a lot of people that have been putting 10% in that offering tray for 30, 40, 50 years. They still haven't seen God. There are a lot of people that are in your pulpits that have these mega churches and millions of followers around the world. They still haven't seen God. Because until you can connect those two parts of yourself, even your Bible says you can't see God. God says when these two come together, I shall be there also. And until they come together, you don't even know me. It goes back to the same thing. Jesus said, until you come through me, you won't see God. But it's not just knowing that side exists. It's when them two come together. When them two have one mind. When those two dualities have one singular truth. You got to understand, before a person lives in that singular truth, they're living in a state of chaos. You're living in a state of chaos. You know what I'm saying? You're living over here one day and you're living in two different polarities. Is all I'm saying. And you don't understand you're living in a state of chaos. You don't understand how far you are away from God. What do you mean so far away from God? You're living in a state of chaos, which is the opposite of God. Think about it. Going back to the Kabbalion, going back to whatever book you want to refer to. God is the only thing that's real. God is the only thing that doesn't vibrate. God is the only thing that doesn't live in a state of chaos. As human beings, our objective is to get as closest to that state as possible. So instead of living in a state of chaos, we're supposed to be in the middle, vibrating so tight where we're right beside God. That's when you can see God, when you're vibrating in one singular truth, which means that ego side and that spiritual side, that Christ side, are one mind. There is no difference between one. There is no over here, all things are possible through Christ, and over here, I'm limited by politics and the president. It's one singular truth. It's one singular truth. It's a state of damn near no vibration. It's a state of being close to God, right? Now, having said all that, you got to understand this. Most people will make an effort. I'm going to say it like this. Because a lot of people can live in that state of chaos their whole life. Like a lot of people, this is the thing. If a person isn't really in the business of expanding, getting more money, getting healthier relationships, getting more out of life, they can live in that state of chaos for 70, 80, 90, 100 years and really have no smoke with it. They're kind of lost. They may be good people, but they really haven't seen God, but they're cool with it. They're still searching for something. They still lack fulfillment, but since they aren't expanding, it's all to the good. I go to church, I get my little offering, I'll sing my songs, I'll dance on a few pews every once in a while, and I'll just keep it moving. But when a person starts saying, I want more out of life, God, show me the way, what they're doing is they're sending a request. They're sending an email to that spiritual side. They're sending a request to that Christ side saying, show me the way. This thing I want, like you have all the answers. Show me the way. So what happens is that Christ side of yourself starts screaming across those vast waters. When I talk about crossing that vast ocean of waters and becoming a line, all I'm talking about is that line that's drawn right down the middle of that picture. That line that separates that gold and that black side, that's that vast ocean I talk about. Let me give a shout out to Felicia Marie, man, the one that painted that picture, man. Just quick shout out to her, man. But when I talk about that vast ocean, that's what I'm talking about. But you got to understand this. And we talked about this the other day. A lot of people, when they send that request to that other side saying, bring me that wife, bring me that husband, bring me that bag, that Christ side will be saying, hey, this is the way. Come over here. Let me show you how to do it. So a person will be drawn to that light and they'll get to the edge of that vast ocean. And they'll realize what type of work it takes to cross that ocean. A lot of people don't understand, to get that information fully, you got to go in that dark spot. You have to do some healing. You have to do some inner work. You have to do some forgiving. You got to do some looking in the mirror and seeing how jacked up you been. And when a person sees that, they say, you know what? I can't swim. I can't cross that vast ocean. So I'm just going to retreat back to where I was. But see, this is when the problem takes place, man. The problem takes place when they retreat, but they're still requesting. Because once they keep requesting, that spiritual side of yourself, that Christ side of yourself gets louder. It's saying, no, you're going the wrong way. This is what you got to do. Go inside and do the work. Go inside and say that you're jacked up. And that's when that chaos is out of control. That's when a person is going through, they're drinking more because they're trying to get that answer in a bottle. They're saying, no, you know what? I don't have to do the work. I'll just drink this liquor every day and try to find that glimpse of God in there. I'll just go get me a rotation of women. I'll just go sit on every stick every man that shows interest in me, because that fulfillment in there is where God lives. And I'm gonna tell you, this is what happened, bro. That noise will get so loud. That noise will get so loud where a person will deny balance. Because when you talk about God, it's all about balance. A lot of people are to the left in light energy and calling that's God. That's not God. A lot of people are in dark energy and calling a certain thing. Balance. God is in that balance. God is in that dual nature. God is in everything, right? So this is what happens. Picture it when I say balance, picture it being like a faucet. You know, you sitting there washing your hands, you got a faucet, you got the hot and the cold on. So it's a good balanced water. What a person does when that noise gets so loud, it gets so loud where it's irritating their demons, man. They cut that hot water off. They say, you know what? I can't take that hot water anymore. They cut that hot water off. So what they're saying is my Christ side, my path to God, I'm cutting it off because I can't take the noise anymore. That's when a person is selling their soul. It is not that they're selling their soul because they want to deny God. It's because they want to keep up the image. This is why people do it, bro. Let me break it down like this. It's not that people want to deny God. It's because people have gotten consumed and fell in love with the ego side. And when I say fell in love with the ego side, they're more consumed about how people see them. They're more consumed about looking like Hollywood in the public when really on the inside they're jacked up. They're more concerned about people approving the way they look, the way they look or the way they dress. They're more consumed about the bullshit of the world, man. And you got to understand, man, when you cross that vast ocean, you got to deny all that. Because one thing about that vast ocean, when you cross those waters and get to that Christ side, it's going to expose you, bro. It's going to expose you. And a lot of people don't want that exposure. A lot of people want to keep that mask on and say, no, you know what? I want these things that I'm asking for while I still look like I'm shining in the limelight. It's ego, not even limelight. A lot of people say, no, I still want to indulge in these pleasures of knocking down every other woman or sleeping with every man. Like I want that pleasure and I want the blessing too. And when it gets so loud, they'll cut it off, man. They'll cut God off. I've cut God off before. And I'm going to tell you, man, that's what it means to sell your soul. And I'm going to tell you this. For 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of life, man, life seems to be good. You're over there, man. That noise is quiet. Now you can just indulge in these pleasures. You can indulge with all these women. You can sleep with all these men. You can drink all this alcohol. You can smoke all this dope. You can portray that you're something that you're not. You can be on the gram acting like life is good when really your life, you can feel the bottom falling out. And I'm going to tell you this, bro. When that bottom falls out, it takes you straight to the depths of hell, bro. And when I say depths of hell, you got to understand this. Even when we go through challenging times in life and we lose jobs or we lose relationships or whatever, man, you got to understand that even when this is happening, you're still plugged into God. It's like Christ's side, higher side, show me the way, and you can get it out of the mud. But when you've denied that and the bottom falls out and you hit the bottom and God is nowhere present because you cut it off 10 minutes ago, bro, when I say bad feeling, I'm going to tell you this. I had a dream when I was about, man, I don't know. I might have been about 16, 17. I'm not sure. And all of a sudden, I had this dream one night, man, where I woke up and I was in this place that at the time I called hell. I was in this place, man. It was like what we call hell when we were kids, man. I was in this underground, dark place, fiery place, hot place. And I was in a underground, dirt-walled jail cell. And I can remember like, dang, man, I'm here at this place. And I can remember turning around and there was this entity in the cell with me, man. It was just like a dark demon-y type entity, right? And I can remember this. I can remember looking at that fiery energy outside of the cell. I can remember looking at this demon inside of the cell with me. And it wasn't that I feared those things. They were kind of frightening. But the pain that I felt was the absence of God. I said, you know what? This fiery place that I thought that everybody fears the fire and that, bro, that ain't nothing. I would much rather burn in fire for eternity and still be plugged into my higher side than to be living any kind of state without it. You live your life without God, bro. It's like words can't even explain it unless you've been there. And I've told a story like when I say I sold my soul, man, Like I consciously, and I told the story again, so I'm not gonna go down through there, man. If y'all been watching my channel, y'all heard me talk about it a time or two, where I was in a relationship, in and out of a relationship for years, man. And I can talk about this sister now, man, because I can look back in the days. This is a relationship I was in several years ago. Her and I both were in dark spots, man. And it feels good to talk about it now because even though we're both on separate paths, we don't even talk to each other. We're both in a higher spot now, man. So I love talking about this now, right? So I was in a relationship on and off for several years, man. And I knew that when I entertained it, it was darkness. And when I came out, life was good. I would get back in it and it was darkness. Anyway, that cycle kept going on for years and years and years, man. And I separated myself from that for a period of time. And life was good, man. The bag was growing. I'm traveling. I'm in Dubai. I'm in Africa. I'm all over the world, man. I'm traveling. So one day I'm coming back from Dubai, and this chick out of the blue just calls me. Hadn't talked to her in a while. She's like, hey, you know what? I got this situation. I need you to come help me. Spirit was telling me, no. Like, we separated you from that situation for a reason. Like, we told you a long time ago, never go back down that road. And you know, so I'm flying back in, and she said, hey, I need you to come help me out, XYZ. And I'm telling you, man, the last 4 hours on that plane, after I talked to her, last 2 or 3 hours before I landed, I'm having a war inside of my mind. Jihad, as they call it in Islam, right? A battle between myself. I'm flying into Dallas airport, fully aware of the path in front of me, fully aware of the fork in the road. I said, when I touch down in Dallas, Texas, I got two choices. I can either go on about my life, send her some good well wishes and stay on my purpose, stay plugged in, or I can go towards her. And I'm gonna tell you what I sit there and deliberated, man. It wasn't that I was sitting there saying, you know what, screw God. I wasn't saying that. I was saying this. I said, dang, man, I remember, bro, when we used to hook up and she used to do that thing, man. Or I remember when she used to have that tight ass body, man. She was a personal trainer. Baddie too, right? I remember, man, she used to look good in them dresses, man. I remember she was this. I remember we used to have fun doing this. I remember we used to. So in other words, I was saying, I remember that pleasure. It was calling on my ego side. Even though in the other ear, like when we were little kids, the cartoons have the good and the bad energy on your shoulder. Even though in my other ear, God was saying, you know you're not supposed to do that. You understand what's going to happen when you go down that road. It wasn't that wasn't aware. See, when people sell their soul, it's not like a person just walks off in this la la land and looks up one day and says, oh man, how did I get here? A person makes a conscious, like it has to be conscious. For you to sell your soul, it has to be an agreement. In other words, that same agreement when you come to Christ, you have to actually literally divorce that side. You got to say, you know what, Christ side of you, God, I no longer want to partake. Like I hear this noise, but I would much rather go toward the big booties. I would much rather go toward the pleasure. I would much rather go toward the lower vibration because I remember it's calling up on my ego. And a person sells their soul, man. In other words, selling your soul is choosing the pleasures of the ego and denying what God is telling you to do. That's what selling your soul is. Consciously doing that. And I'm gonna tell you this, bro. I would rather die a million deaths than deny God. And I'm gonna tell you, man, when you make that choice and you look back, bro, it's like the absence of God, bro. Like I can't even put it into words what that's like. I can't even put it into words of what that's like, man. But it's all about, and I say I was in that place for 2 years, man. Like I would much rather have done 2 years in some prison than in that state. I'm still roaming around this world. I'm still posting pics on the gram. I'm still doing what I'm doing. Like life is good. But on the inside, bro, I'm burning. On the inside, bro, I'm cooking. On the inside, bro, I'm scared because I'm in this world now without the presence of God. I have no protection. It's literally just me against the world with no protection. I don't wish that on nobody, man. And if you're in that state, man, all I can say, bro, man, is find your way out of it, man. Like even when you can't feel God, still praise God. Like start just serving. Just start serving, even though you know you're undeserving. Just start serving. Two greatest commandments: love God with all your heart. Second commandment: love your brother like you love yourself. The best way to get it back out the mud is to love your brother like you love yourself. You worship God by treating your man as if he's God. Bible says, when you saw me thirsty, you saw me no clothes, you saw me in prison, you saw me XYZ, and you weren't there for me. The quickest way to get back to where you need to be, man, is to treat your brother like you treat yourself. To serve God by your work. The second way, man, is to forgive. The second way is to forgive. Even all those low vibrational people you were entertaining that you want to point the blame at first. You want to say, this is the reason why I'm in this pit of hell. Because this woman, this man put me there. Mama put me there. Daddy put me there. Preacher put me there. Teacher put me there. Once you take accountability and say, no, bro, I can think back when I was on that plane. I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. I knew exactly what I wasn't supposed to do. I got to put this on myself, man. I got to bite this bullet. And I got to forgive everybody else involved. I got to forgive the woman that lured me in, I say. And if y'all seen Beautiful Faces of Evil, you can see this whole story I'm talking about. I can tell you this, man. I've written A Singular Truth. I've made the recipe. I put a lot of stuff out there. Nothing had more impact on my message like Beautiful Faces of Evil. That's the realest thing I've ever put out, bro. That's the realest. And I've had people call me and say, man, you know what, bro? I was crying when I saw that. I was crying, man. I left it all on the field when I talked about that, man. I'll leave a link to it in the description box if y'all want to check that out. I might even put it on sale for today, man. But that's how you get it back out, man. If you've lost your soul, in other words, if you're in that state of ultimate chaos and you're sitting there and your prayers aren't being answered, your manifestations aren't coming to be, and you just can't, it feels like God isn't there. At some point, you made that decision. At some point, you closed that faucet off. At some point, you slammed the door in God's face and said, no, man, I hear what you're saying, but I want to indulge in this ego for a little bit longer. I like the way people are looking at me. I like the way these women or men are putting me on a pedestal and wanting to worship my body. I'm choosing ego over a connection with God. So I'm going to tell you, brothers, selling your soul is nothing I wish on no man. Man does not need a higher level of consciousness, nor does he need any more religion. He simply needs to know who he is and where he's going. It's time, brothers. It's time, sisters. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? It's time that we identify ourselves. It's time that we walk in our authority.